I'm never sure about these microphones. Shout out to UncleTone for being on the ones and twos. So we're about to put on some gunshots and also the claps. Shout out to Dapper Dan for being in the building, y'all. Yes. But no, today we do have Dapper Dan live at DTF Radio. And we're going to be talking about his favorite saying.
Stay horny, my friends.
Stay horny, my friends, and staying horny. Those are the things we are going to talk about. And so I do have to hold my phone in my hand so you guys can see what's going on. We got DJ UncleTone in the building. Shout out to you over there from the Grown Man Show showing love. Yes, indeed. And so Solo, Charm, and Sabrina Ryan was not able to be here today, but we will be catching up with them next week. But for now, we have a legend in the building, Dapper Dan, live here in effect. So I want to talk about your saying and a lot of the things that happened throughout the career. But I came and met you when you were already making porn. I completely missed Blacktail. I completely missed photography and filming and your life entirely prior to fucking on camera like we all love to do. Yes. So tell us a little bit about that, because it's crazy when I mention you to people. A lot of people go crazy about Blacktail in the magazines. So give us an outlook. How did it all start?
Well, the earlier part of my life, as I call Chapter 1, 1988, I'd already been in the graphic arts field. I graduated the School of Visual Arts in 73, was married. I was doing straight work. I was doing retail advertising, actually, for J.C. Penney of all people.
Hey.
And in 88, they moved their company headquarters to Texas. So summer of 88, I found myself out of work. I was just hanging out, figuring out what to do next.
In New York?
Yeah, New York. And a friend of mine who also went to visual arts with me, he was already in the men's magazine business as an art director.
Oh.
And he had just gotten a job with a company that put out a magazine called Genesis.
Okay.
And he needed an assistant. He said, yo, I know you're not working. Do you want to come and help me out? And I said, well, I needed work. And I figured it would be a temporary situation.
But when he said help, what did he mean?
To help put the magazine together.
Were you going out to buy shirts and T-shirts?
No, it's just a straight art job. You know, you sit at a board and you help put the magazine together, construct a magazine. You know, putting the artwork with the type and all that. As
like images and
you're right.
graphics.
The old way, we used to call it paste ups and mechanicals in the old days, when you used to wax everything and put it on a board and cut it up and all that before it went to computers. But still, I already knew about men's books. I grew up reading my father's Playboys, and then by that time, I already was, you know, reading Playboy, Penthouse, Hustler, all that stuff. So I knew about the books. I always liked the sex magazines.
Sex images, yeah.
But the fact that now I'm going to actually be at a company that actually puts one out, I was like, well, this is different for me. So I went in and we started doing those. But what I want to make people to be aware of is, especially at that time period, except, and I want to make sure that people know about it to get it straight.
Right.
There was one black girl magazine at
What
the
was
time.
this?
It's called Players.
Oh, shout out to Players being here.
Yeah, they were based out in the West Coast. They were an LA-based book. They were out since the 70s, and they did, you know, pictures of naked, nude black girls.
When they
stuff.
say nude, okay, so nude in the 70s was completely different from
now.
what now, right? So what's nude in the 70s? Because now nude is you have to have nothing on. So before, was it just like panties or?
Well, they would be naked, but they wouldn't be what we call the pink shot. They weren't spreading their pussies.
The pink shot. Shout out to the pink shot.
Oh, you just call them
so
spread
that's
shots.
that's showing the wide eagle. That's showing everything. Okay.
No, they would just be like what they call erotic nude photography or glam photography, as we technically would call it back then. Just, you know, girls posing nude. But they did some well-known people. Like, for instance, one of the best issues was with Pam Grier. She was on the cover.
Really?
Yeah, Pam Grier did a new layout for them. She was the centerfold. That was probably one of the best issues. But still, that was it. And it was still put out by white people.
Shout out to Pam Grier.
Right. But she...
Inspiring women.
Exactly. But
so
that was
get their bodies together.
But the thing, when I got involved with them, I went to the owner. One thing, again, to make people understand how the magazine business was back then with men's magazines, as we called them, sophisticated magazines. It was basically a white market. All the magazines, especially on the East Coast, were owned and controlled by white guys. And it wasn't even that many. It was maybe a half dozen odd guys.
But it wasn't many to choose from, though, was it?
Well,
like,
no, there was books like, well, you had the big three, the trifecta. You had Playboy, Penthouse, and Hustler. And those were the biggest selling books. But then in the B category, as I would call it, you had Genesis, Swank, Cherry, High Society, Gallery, Fox. There was all these books that were out there, shot, done in New York.
You're talking to a 90s kid who's going to Google all of this later.
And, but they were all owned and controlled by white men, mostly Jews and Italians. And they all were multi-publishers, as we call them. Like each company would own and control a number of titles. There was also the biggest one, which was Mavidi Media, which was owned by a guy named George Mavidi. And they had a lot of books. They had a lot of gay books, which made a lot of money, like Inches and Stroke and all that. But they also had Jugs. They had Leg Show, which was a fetish book. But the overriding fact was they were all white books. Everybody was white. The attitude was, as long as you put a blonde with big tits on the cover, that was enough. That would sell the book.
No, you gotta have some help.
Yeah, so I went to, when I was at Genesis, it was owned by an Irish guy actually named Joe. Old guy, and they're all old, mostly.
Shout out to the old freaks out there.
Yeah, so I went to him, and I said, Joe, how come there's no books with black girls or women of color, as I prefer to say? And he goes, oh, because they don't sell. I says, what do you mean they don't sell?
What?
Because he said, and again, I want to make it clear to people that everyone's attitude at that time period, again, we're talking 88, was that books with women of color in them would not sell. Because they only thought white guys bought these books, and they go, white guys don't want to see this, they just want to see pretty white girls with big tits. That's what sells our books. And I said, well, why don't you try it? And he goes, what was the point? It's no market. So this became a mission for me to prove that they were wrong. So I kept, needling him. He said, all right, shut the fuck up, do one book, and just so, whatever. So I said, okay. And I did a book called Exotic Women.
Oh, this is before Blacktail.
This is before Blacktail, right. And it was a one-shot book. It was just one thing, just to shut me up. And but it was a mixed book. It was like black girls, Hispanic, Asians. But they were all women of color. They weren't white.
So just a variety.
Variety of women. And it went on the newsstand, and to everybody's surprise, it sold out. It made a lot of money. And to the point where I got a $500 Christmas bonus, which I did not expect, and that was the only time I ever got.
Probably made more than that, but
and that's the only time I ever got that big a bonus in the time I was in publishing. But still, it made money, so I proved him wrong. And then next year I did one more. It was called Genesis Presents Exotic Women, and that one had Heather Hunter, who at the time, who was big porno star.
Shout out to Heather Hunter.
Shout out to Heather Hunter. She was, at that time, had broken a record. She was the first black contract girl for, I believe it was Wicked Pictures out in LA. And had a whole line of videos. So
first like porn star to actually sign.
Yeah, the first contract black porn star to sign with a big studio. So that was big news right there. So I did a second book, but that was it. They were, again, like I want to make it clear, they were one shots. They didn't come out any other time than that. So after 2 years with them, and this was in '90, I left, and then I wound up with the Mavidi people, but not directly working for George. I was working for a lady named Pat, who had her own separate studio called Pink Coyote. And Pink Coyote, it was like in a basement studio on the Upper East Side. She just had a bunch of guys work. By this time,
How many computers?
A whole line. There was a whole line of going down the table.
Oh, y'all had more than one. Y'all was doing all right.
Well, it was a factory. And we, this was at the point when we now had desktop publishing, where magazines were now no longer waxed and hand cut and all that. Now they were on the computer. Being printed from a computer, right? Because it didn't exist. The transition from hand cutting pictures with an X-Acto knife and waxing them and putting them on a board and the type and cutting the type out. That's how I used to do books. Now it was now done on computer. We had to get trained for it, and now there's a whole lineup of guys just sitting there at the keyboard, putting in pictures with Quark Express and all that.
Yeah.
And again, the books were basically they were white girl books. She did Big Booty and Big Butt.
Hey.
She did another one called Tail Ends, which was a booty book. Another one called Lips, which was just pictures of pussies, all kinds of stuff. But again, I was like, where's the blacks book? And they had a book which originally was called Mocha, Mocha, which came out 4 times a year, and they had just changed the title to Black Tail. But again, it wasn't really going anywhere. I looked at the book, and to be honest, it wasn't much to look at. The photo sets were not exciting. The girls weren't pretty. It's just almost like they just did it almost like an afterthought.
Just to throw it out
Just
there.
to throw it out there to say they had something. So I went to Pat and I said, look, why don't give me the book? Let me see if I can do something with it, because it's not going anywhere, and I think it deserves to be.
So this was taking over Genesis.
Yeah. She said, okay, here, but you still got to do the white girl books. I said, no, this is what you hired me for.
Right.
But I'd like to try to do something with Black Tail.
Yeah.
She goes, okay. So first thing I did was what people need to understand, that especially back in those days, photographers would send what we call photo sets. They were just 35 millimeter slides.
Already
slide
shot.
sets.
That was
already
taken.
shot.
Okay.
Wherever they came from, L.A., Europe, whatever. But you would get them in an envelope. There'd be like X number of slide sleeves.
Did it have to be a certain angle or
Well,
anything that
they
the
were just
company
glam shots, all different, full figure,
Options.
the close-ups, side views, whatever, that they shot in the studio. But they would come in an envelope, and with the model release and all that stuff.
Yes.
And you would look at them. You'd have like what we used to call the light box.
Is this where you guys are putting the photos in the red water? Is that?
Well,
is that
no.
what's
This
happening?
is you'd have a slide, 35 millimeter slide,
Okay.
and you have a light box. It was just a box with that was lit, and you put the slide on it. And you'd have like a viewer. It was like a thing you hold up
like
to
a
your
microscope
eye.
to kind of
Right,
look
but you
inside.
looked out on it like this.
Okay.
So you could see it blown up.
look at the
It
actual
magnified the image. So you would look at it and go like, okay, this picture's good, this picture's good.
Yeah.
And I would look at anything that wasn't white. Again, anything that was like a woman of color set. There were many, but we would get them. And I just, I singled out the ones that the girls were really pretty, that were professionally shot.
Yeah.
And from there, I'd laid them out. And I said, and also I started doing things like video reviews, anything, because
Is that back early 80s?
yeah, well, video companies we relied on men's magazines to give them good reviews for their videos, so people would go out and buy them. So they would send you what they call screeners, and back then it was a VHS, but you get these video boxes in the mail, and again, I look for the ones that had black girls in them. And I go like, and then you look at them, and you would review them. This is good, this is good, this is bad, whatever.
Yeah.
We also did music reviews, just black musicians,
Right.
because they had a couple of freelance writers that would do these kind of things for you.
Ah, okay.
So they would do the reviews and send them to you.
Would they write about the females as well, or was it
Well,
just
no,
like
we
a
just
photo
we
op
would
and
just
guys-
write that up.
Okay.
So in some cases, if we could contact the girl directly to get info on them, we would, put it in. But most of the time, we just made it up. It was just like, well, here's Solange from blah, 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 and she loves blue, blah, blah, blah. You had to put a little byline in there.
Yes, a little bio.
But still, whatever I was doing started to affect the sales. So it went from a quarterly, in 1 year, it went from a quarterly to a bi-monthly to 9 times a year.
Oh,
Then
wow.
finally,
Every
it was the first monthly. And that was a significant issue because at that time, I was in Times Square. Times Square was a different place back in those days.
So I've heard.
Yeah.
So I've heard.
And a lot of porn stars would come and hang out at the clubs and stuff. But there were a lot of like little lounge areas. And I went to one place, I saw a club now long gone, it's called Legs Diamond.
Yeah.
And I happened to go in there and say, oh, this nice place, it's set up nice. And there was a variety of pretty girls, all different types, diversity.
Yeah.
But I found out the woman who ran the place was black. And I
Place
met
called
her.
Dynasty?
Legs Diamond.
Legs Diamond.
Diamond. And I went to the lady and I said, look, you have a really nice club. Would you like to have an article done about your club? She goes, yeah, as long as it's free. I said, no, we'll come here and, it'll just keep some promo for you. She goes, yeah, sure, no problem. So I got a photographer to come there with, and we picked a time before the club opened. And I said, do me a favor, pick like 3 girls that you think stand out, represent the club.
Right.
And we'll shoot them on the stage, performing. So we did, and there was one girl, we told about the club, that was black owned, and, come check it out.
Right.
But one of the dancers really stood out. She's a black woman, beautiful. She's tall, very statuesque. I was like, man, this girl's amazing. And her name was Sasha Pendavis.
Okay.
And so with that, I said, do you want to be in the magazine? Along with the article about the club, do you want to be in the magazine too? And she said, yeah, sure. So we did an interview with her. We put her in the centerfold. We put her on the cover. And with that monthly issue, set the format for the issues that would follow later, where the idea was go to a black-owned club, do a profile on the club. If one of the dancers stood out, do articles, layouts of them, and all that. But this particular issue, Sasha, as I said, was on the cover, and she said to me, I want to go into porn. I want to make the next step and go to LA. So I said, okay, cool. Well, use this as a way to get into the door.
Right. And she would brought you into porn? Staying horny?
Well, no, that would come later. But what was interesting was that summer she did go to LA, and she changed from Sasha Pendavis. She became a porn star called Champagne.
Okay, shout out to Champagne.
Which I'm sure guys from that time period remember. She became a very popular porn star.
Yes. If you guys know of a porn star lady named Champagne, you know where you seen her first with Dapper Dan.
And that also became like an inspiration that I realized the books weren't just there for guys to read and jerk off. They could be good promo. Especially if the girl who was in it wanted to get into she wanted maybe she was already a stripper, she wanted to go into porn. This was a way for her to get into porn, and it was a good way to promote people. So from that point on, that became like a seed in my mind, like for future to do with the books. So I stayed with Blacktail for a while, and then again parted ways with them. One thing that would be a continuing problem, unfortunately. In all the years, I went from '88 to 2002. I did magazines, but you had to realize I was like literally the only black guy working. Wherever I went, I was the one black guy in a white bullpen.
Really?
And so you had to just kind of like get used to being kind of like by yourself.
Isn't that a great thing though? Because it's like a monopoly. You have control over.
Well, you come in with people knowing what you do, but at the same time, the publishers, again, as I say, they're basically old white guys.
They can't relate to
They can't relate to anything.
Yeah.
And then they also have final control and say over how the book looks. Although for the most part they would leave me alone, but like say for the cover, you'd have to go to them, and then everybody did it. All the editors and art directors had to go like, well, this is the girl I want to go on the cover. So you show them the picture, and again they would look at it and go like, well, she's not black. I mean, what do you mean she's not black? But she's not black enough. What do you mean she's not black enough? Because they all had a preconceived idea
of what it is,
of what black beauty was. You had to have the type of nose, the lips, the coloring, unless to be black. And I'm like, we don't come all the same way. We're all different types.
Different, of course.
Some are light, some are dark, some are medium, some have, we don't come out all the same way.
Yeah.
And the books are supposed to reflect that.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to hear that shit. They'd be like, she's not black enough. She's not black enough. So I was always butting heads. That's one reason why I would move on.
Yeah. But how did you get so you just got into porn because of the frustration from there, or
was it's just
like you were just trying to stay horny? Like,
well, no, the books would continue. I mean, like I said, I went from Blacktail. And here's what gets really weird. The next place I went was around Canal Street. There was a company.
Shout out to everybody on Canal Street shopping on the bootleg tip.
Yeah, and this was a company called Gamington Graphics, which was a printing company, and it was all Chinese, little Chinese guys. Guy named Alex was running it, but he also was partnered up with an old Jewish couple, guy named Stosh, and so I came in there because they contacted me, and they said, well, we know you did blacktail. Now they realized that there was a market for blacktail.
So they want to
books.
distribute it.
So now, they wanted me to come up with a book for them.
Mm.
So they said, can you create a book for us like you did with Blacktail? So I said, okay. So I came up with another title called Homegirls.
Okay.
And Homegirls I did that for a year.
Okay.
That was every other month, but bi-monthly. But what I did with Homegirls that I didn't do with Blacktail, like I said, I focused on black-owned clubs with Blacktail.
Yeah.
But with Homegirls,
You switched it
I
up.
actually started showing what went on at the underground parties.
Ah, okay.
So
okay.
that was the thing with that book, like, because at that time, by that time, people knew who I was. I
Yeah.
would go, because most of my models were strippers, so I would go to every little
Hey, that's
club in
convenient. Shout out to the
town.
strippers for starting
Shout
that.
out for the strippers. No, but they were the easiest way to get models,
Yeah.
because they're already used to being naked in front of guys.
I filmed a lot of strippers as well. I'm not gonna lie. Strippers are sometimes people would perceive them to be stuck up or closed-minded, but I've had some great friendships
they're
and
not.
business relationships with
Yeah.
strippers. So
I have nothing bad to say about the girls who strip. This is what they do. It's how they make their money. A lot of them are single mothers. They got kids to feed.
Yes,
And-
everyone has kids to feed.
Yeah, and this is how they make their money. And I never looked down on them. I said some of the most beautiful models I've had in the magazines were girls who stripped on stage.
Yeah.
So I went to the clubs, and I would walk in, and some of them were, I got to say, some of the sleaziest types in Brooklyn and Bronx and Queens. But
Oh, man.
and there'd be all these big guys at the door, like, "What were you?
What are you
be
doing?
patting
I
you
remember you
down.
talked to me about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
they-
mentioned that like it was hard to get into clubs and
Yeah,
stuff.
they pat
Even
you
though it was
down.
you the person who's promoting your stuff.
Well,
yeah.
what happened was I would walk in and there'd be hardcore gangsters and pimps and drug dealers and shit. But they said
Little you just coming with your magazine like, hey.
and they looking at me like, "Who are you?" But then I would pull out the books.
Yeah.
And they, "Oh, you do those." Oh. And they go, yo, Mahogany, get over here, yo.
Oh my god.
We got the guy, and now they're buying me drinks and stuff. You want to shoot my girl? Yeah, man, we can. So, and
FYI, I remember one of the biggest porn producers, aka Mike Dirty. I brought him to Dapper Dan's house, and he turned into a child after looking at the Blacktail magazine. So many people are out there that were, that are prominent in the industry, were greatly inspired by Dapper Dan and what he's been doing. So, as FYI, I have been too. So, shout out to you.
But still, what was also going on, I mean, it still goes on now. I guess it totally didn't stop. But back then, especially in the 90s,
Yeah.
there were a lot of what we call underground parties. They weren't
I
at
heard about
clubs.
those, yeah, like
Right.
basement parties.
Basement parties,
yeah.
right. And
Yes.
you would get the word of mouth where it was, and you go there, and the girls would be, they have the bar set up in the corner, and the girls would be working the pole, doing the lap dances.
That's
taking
all you need is a bar and a dance.
Right, and going back in the back for the
Bar and
VIP
dance,
and
that's it.
all that. But what I did, I actually showed what went on. I had a photographer, and we'd be filming the girls, guys, heads between the girls' eggs, eating them out, all this stuff, the lap
Hey.
dances, but I would black out the guys' faces
Right.
when I ran the
Okay.
articles. But I go like, yo, here's what went on in Brooklyn. Here's what went on. So people are like, oh, that's what goes on at these parties. And I go, yeah, this is what goes on at these
Those
parties.
parties.
Not to mention, I did one with the women, where it was the male dancers, because they invited me to go, because one of the male dancers said, why don't you profile us for a change? You're always profiling the women. I go like, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, you're
So,
part of it.
right, so I went there, and it was actually in Brooklyn at in a place long gone, but it was on South Oxford Street actually,
Okay.
in Fort Greene. But the women were crazier than the men. They were going nuts. They had all these guys on the stage, very muscular, good-looking men, stripping it down, and I was like, this is incredible. I've never seen women act like this before.
Yeah, women don't know how to act when they see naked men.
Exactly, especially when the dicks are out.
Yes. When the dicks are out, yeah, women don't know how to act.
Yeah.
Very true.
Right. So
Yes.
so I showed that too. So that was the main thing that made Homegirl stand out. But again, I was still having the politics of racial and all that shit. So that was only for a year. And then I entered what I call my most creative period, which was from 96 to 2002,
Okay.
where I went to work for a company called Magna Publications, and which was actually based in New Jersey on Route 4 East near the Bergen Mall. It was like an office park.
Oh, okay.
And it was run by a family. It was actually printers.
Yeah.
But they now were acquiring other books. They own Genesis now. They would own Swank.
Right.
And
did
other
you
books.
start filming porn around this time? Like,
Well,
when did you
yeah,
start
actually,
porn?
this all coincided together because
okay.
I came in to work for them. Well, actually, the only reason I got the job was because one of their art directors, an older white guy who was an alcoholic, literally had dropped dead from alcohol.
Oh my God.
And they needed to fill the slot. And I had shown up there just looking for work. And they go, okay, you need a job. Guy died. Go in
I'll
that
do it.
cubicle, start doing it.
Oh wow! So just
So,
like, keep it going.
He goes, here I am. So here again, white bullpen, white books. But
Yeah.
they had a title already called Black Portfolio, which was basically being done by a white editor, a white girl named Joyce. And she, again, nobody was really putting much effort into it. It was just another title. So I went to the boss named Lou, and I said, Lou, I did these other black books. Could you let me do something with Black Portfolio? He goes, again, he's like, all right, I don't want to get in it. They take it.
Yeah.
So I took Black Portfolio, and then later there would be a second title called Black Lust. Each one came out 6 times a year. So as I did one, I go to the other. They're like sister books.
Yeah.
But now I actually began really covering what I call the ethnic side of the adult entertainment industry, more so than before, because now there were shows to go to.
Yeah.
For those of you who might remember, before there was Exotica,
And the voyeur shows.
this was called the East Coast Video Show, and it was based in Atlantic City. It was every October, but it was a trade show for wholesalers
outta here.
and retailers, but it was straight stuff. This is where people would go to get distribution deals for their movies.
sell their movies,
To sell their
yeah.
movies, but there was a section that was sectioned off, curtained off, for the adult companies.
Oh, so this was just like films, period.
Yeah, just films.
Oh, okay. I see
But
what you mean.
but for those who could not get to the AVN show, although at that time they called it CES, it wasn't AVN yet.
Okay,
it was
shout out
consum-
to CES.
Consumer
creating
Electronics
AVN.
Show.
Consumer
Electronics,
Show.
right, that's
I
what-
think they need to change it back to CES because people think that they don't have to be a consumer of porn.
Right. But it was just
Pay
that.
for your porn, peoples.
Right.
Yes.
But if they couldn't get to LA, this was the next best thing because
Yeah.
it was a smaller show, but you would see porn stars there at their booths, just like at Exotica,
Yeah.
signing and taking pictures. So I would go there to cover those expos, and then later I would go out to LA to, again, what was called then Consumer Electronics.
Yeah.
But later they branched off separately and then became AVN.
What year was that around?
This is, again, we're talking the late 90s,
Okay.
like 96,
When they
98.
became AVN.
Right, it would slowly transition from CES to AVN. By like the turn of the millennium, it would now become AVN.
Was it different kinds of videos that they were using that you created AVN, or was it?
Well,
just
no,
the
it's
name
just that
itself?
they consumer electronics was just that it was everything, any type of electronic.
Oh, so it's just films.
It was just like any technology breakthroughs in electronics in general, whatever
so not
it was.
just adult based.
Right, but they would just have a separate section for the adult companies. But it was in Vegas as well. But then eventually they decided to have their own show, their own expo.
Yeah.
And then it became AVN. But still, I would go to the shows because what people didn't see was when the white magazines went to these expos, they only shot the white performers, the girls
Yeah,
at the
I mean,
booths.
that's fair.
They didn't, if you were to look at their magazines, you would get the impression there was no black representation at all at these expos, which in reality was wrong.
Yeah.
There were black girls there were black male performers there as well,
Yeah.
but you hardly saw any pictures. So
Right.
when I went, that's all I shot. For the most part,
Corner
I only,
rock,
no,
rock.
I just focused on, because I made it, I just said, you know what, I'm still here doing this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm still by myself, but I felt it was my mission to
Well, I mean, now
cover-
you're just shooting whatever you want.
Right.
You have the position to do that.
Right,
now.
but I felt it was important for people to know what was going on in the ethnic side of the industry.
'Cause it
Because
wasn't
nobody
being
else was
told.
talking about it.
Yeah.
So I would go up to the booths, and there was, at that time, especially in the late 90s, there was this hardcore group of beautiful girls that I saw all the time. It was Obsession, and Cinnabons, and Vanessa Blue, and Monique, and Midori, and the twins, Mocha and Chocolate. There was all these beautiful girls doing, working
Janet
for companies.
Jackman,
Janet
yeah,
Jackman,
yes, that
Champagne
was
was still
awesome.
around. Dominic Simone. But they worked for companies, Wicked, Vivid, not so much with them, but Elegant Angel. There was one main company called Video Team,
Okay.
which had a separate section called the Afrocentric
Yeah.
series. Their main title was Baby Got Back,
Okay.
and they did a whole slew of those. Baby Got Back number
Yeah.
44 or whatever.
But when did you get on camera?
When did I get
the first Dapper Dan porn film made? I must know, because I met you knowing that you do porn. I had no idea about Blacktail or any of that
Right,
stuff.
you only knew
and-
the other one.
Yes.
Well, what happened was, at that time, again in the late 90s, there were two black-owned video companies here in New York. One was run by a guy who's still around. His name is Charles Stone.
Okay.
He partnered up with a guy who's no longer with us named Al Rivera, who used to own one of the most well-known clubs up in Hunts Point called Al's Mr. Wedge.
That was in Hunts Point.
That was in Hunts Point, right. And the Wedge is still around, I believe it is, but the Wedge was a very popular spot for people to go. And
Shout out to everybody at the Wedge in Hunts Point, if it's still around.
if it's still around. But back then, that was a very hot spot to go to, and also a lot of porn girls went there to perform. But he partnered up with him, and they started a company called Caesar Video, which they said was the only black Latino co-owned company in the country, which
Wow.
is true.
Wow.
So they had their porn, and then there was another guy who was a lawyer by trade, but he went under the name Johnny Handsome,
Okay.
and he owned a company called Bedtime Productions.
A lawyer owned a company called Bedtime Productions.
Right, Johnny Handsome. So they were basically the two guys in town shooting porn,
Okay.
black porn.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of the girls that I had in the
They
Black
shot
West Bank
for him.
portfolio also shot for these guys. They overlap.
Okay.
And also I would go to their shoots. I would go on set to see, well, here I am at Bedtime or Caesar Video's newest whatever, especially if there were girls in there that were also in the magazine, so they would get double promotion. And one day I was at one of Johnny Handsome's shoots called Satisfaction Guaranteed, because the girl, Dominican girl named was Satisfaction, was doing a gangbang with several guys.
Shout out to the females doing gangbangs with several guys.
And this was
I understand.
right, and it was at a hotel across from Madison Square Garden. So I'm there, again, we're just taking pictures.
The Pennsylvania?
Yeah, the Pennsylvania, but I think it was called something else back then, I think. Anyway, same hotel. So they're in the room, three guys doing her, and they took a break. The guys went in the room to, I guess, get a drink or whatever. I was still in the room with the girl, and she's watching me and I'm watching her, and it's like she was almost daring me, like, you want this? You want this? You like what
Throwing
you
her
see?
pussy in your face.
Yeah, right, literally. And like most guys, especially having been
can't
seen
deny it.
No, but it's just what's one of the biggest male fantasies is like being a porn performer, actually being on camera, fucking, beautiful girl. And I had seen so much of it already, and I was like, I wonder if I could do something like that. That's the thing. And she just was like, you want this? You want? So next thing you know, my clothes are off. I'm on the bed with her, and we're going at it. And then meanwhile, the other guys come back from their break, and they're seeing me. Johnny comes in. He goes, instead of getting mad, he goes, okay, keep going. Now we got a fourth ticket. So, and here I am now. I remember I was in my 40s then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you were in your 40s when you made your first porn?
Yeah,
video?
I was in my 40s.
And you've been staying horny for over 20 years,
Well,
Dapper Dan.
trying to.
Oh my God.
But to my surprise, and like these guys were in their 20s, they're half my age.
Yeah.
But to my surprise, not only was I staying hard and performing, I was with other naked men.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother me.
And I've had that issue on set before with hiring different guys and stuff like that. Like, how can a guy stay horny as he's getting older or, having more sex? Because sometimes, people say when you have so much of something, you become immune to it or it doesn't affect you in the same way as it initially did. So, how would you feel? Like, how do you?
Well, I
how
think
would
it's
you
different
give
for
advice to people about
for
that?
every guy. I mean, number one, you have to be comfortable in front of the camera. That's a big.
Even if somebody's not in front of the camera, though, if they're just trying to get it up to get one of their last nuts off for the week,
Yeah.
what does a guy do? If
It's
he's,
libido.
What's libido?
Libido is your state of mind.
Oh.
With your arousal state, I guess, if you want to call it that. Like when you're with a beautiful, sexy lady. I mean, it's and then one thing I want to make clear with porn, male or female performers, you're performing in front of a camera. You're performing an entertainment for people to look at,
Yeah.
and hopefully they're going to enjoy looking at it and pay for it as well.
Indeed.
And if you don't have the chemistry, that's a big part of it. It's just like any other form of we're acting. We're acting. I mean, you're fucking, but you're acting. And if you like in straight films and stuff, you always hear the same thing. Well, the chemistry between the actors was, you could see it on the screen. They really enjoyed acting together because they were feeding off each other. Same thing with porn. If you're, because remember, in most cases, you're showing up to do a scene with someone you've never met before.
Yeah.
In most cases, and because the girl comes in, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? What's up? Blah, blah, blah. And maybe you're having a little talk beforehand.
But guys fuck girls that they've never seen before all the time.
Yeah.
UncleTone, can you let us know what could guys do to stay horny, like as they're not young anymore, or as they're having more sex? So, 'cause I don't know.
What can they do?
What can they do? Because there's some guys who say they're fucking all the time, and I'm saying to myself, like, how can someone fuck all the time and enjoy it all the time?
Well, like he said, it's libido.
It's libido.
It's libido.
Just the power of the mind.
It's just it's a state of mind.
It's a state of mind, yeah.
Because if you're with someone that, you know, like I said, you've never met, and literally maybe if you're lucky, you have like a short time before you shoot to talk to each other, like, well, hey, what's up? Well, and I'll even ask the girls, well, what do you like? What do you want for your pussy?
You're so caring.
Do you want? Well, no, I mean, but it makes the scene better if you know beforehand what they like or don't like. If they like to have the pussy eaten and all that stuff, you like kissing, you like stroking, you like caressing, gets me more aroused.
Take notes, Negroes.
You know,
and people out there.
It's going to make the scene better because she's going to enjoy it more.
Yeah.
And that was always my priority, to make the girl feel as relaxed as possible. So
once the girl is relaxed, a guy can get off.
Well, it just makes it easier for him. I can only put it that way. That if you know she's getting aroused, you can hear the moaning and the groaning, and you know it's not fake. You know she's not just putting on a show, but she's really enjoying what you're doing. You're massaging her neck, blah, blah, blah.
Caressing,
you know, caressing.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting hotter. She's getting more aroused. You get more aroused. Your dick gets harder. You know. So
what would turn a guy off though? Like what prevents a guy from getting horny, or what stops a guy from
attitude,
getting his dick up?
Well, no, I mean it goes the other way. If the girl has an attitude, she's just like, well, shit, man, let's get this shit over with. I'm just here to I'm getting paid. You know, I got things to do. I
gotta get my money and go.
I get my money. I gotta go. It's my paper. Let's do this shit. And it's just like, well, damn, you know, it's like, at least act like you want to fuck me, you know. But,
act like you want to fuck. Yes.
Yeah. If you're acting like you gotta get this shit knocked out in half an hour so you can go work the club somewhere, you know, it's gonna affect you as well. That goes both ways. You know. Fortunately, I can say for me that all the women, at least, well, back at that time period, again, we're talking late 90s. Well, no, but I was lucky that the women I met then, I did about between 12 and 20 videos between Johnny Handsome and Charles Stone and Caesar and Bedtime.
Yeah, the first.
And most of them were gangbangs anyway, which is actually easier for me because where some guys would be like, well, I don't want to be around a lot of naked guys.
I've heard of guys saying that.
Which, you know, it does happen. I didn't mind because, you know why? Because it took the pressure off me. Because it wasn't just being me on camera all the time, which, again, where you get the pressure problem, because now everyone's focused on you and your dick. So if you're not maintaining, you got to be like, because you're the only dick there. But now if you got 3-4 other dicks, then it's like, okay, he takes his turn, he takes his turn, he takes his turn.
Yes.
And then you get in there, if you fuck for 5 minutes, okay, now you get off, the other guy gets in, take turns, and eventually everybody nuts, you got a video, it's done.
Yes.
And that's how we did a lot of them. Also,
what's the largest gangbang that you've ever been in?
The largest one?
Yes. How many people?
No, counting what I've done up to now.
No, like at one time.
No, one time it was 5 guys.
How many girls? This one.
Well,
that's more gangbang.
That's a gangbang.
Now I would say orgy. What's the largest orgy?
Orgy.
Would be, like 2,
Well, orgy, I did one with Charles that was up in the Bronx at some event space we found. This was one of his. He had a long-running series. It's called Sexy Dancer, which
Okay.
most people would probably remember.
Sexy Dancer.
Sexy Dancer. He even had a club called Sexy Dancer for a while. But we had a whole lot of people there for this. A lot of guys, a lot of girls, and it was also directed by a dear friend of mine who give me a shout out to John Vaujean, or as we call him, Big John.
Okay, shout out to Big John.
Still with us. He directed a lot of stuff for them, these guys as well. He was originally a swinger, then he was an actor, then he became a director.
Okay.
I got stories to tell. He's got just as many,
We got
because
the
he
Big
goes
John.
back even further than me, because he's 10 years older than I am.
Okay.
So he was around even in the older days with
See the
porn.
beginning.
Yeah, beginning of it. But yeah, there was just a big orgy scene, a lot of girls, a lot of guys, and again, I was just having fun, because it was just like, naked girls everywhere. Someone's sucking my dick, next one's grabbing me. Hey,
Naked
I don't want
girls,
you.
dick sucking.
Yeah, it's like you just get in there and do what you got to do.
Oh
It's
my
just
God.
again, the idea is to keep the action going.
Agreed.
You don't.
Agreed.
Nothing's worse than a boring porn, where everybody's just like going through the motions, and everybody looks
Where
like
it looks
they
like
rather,
rape.
yeah, or they just look like
In
they
a
rather.
bad way. Like, it's not even exciting rape.
No,
It's like
or they look like they
dead-
just rather be someplace else than here.
Yes,
They got
I've
that
seen
look on their
those.
face,
I've seen that.
But no, I'd say I've done solos, I've done gangs, and they all had their moments.
Different parts, yeah.
I suppose probably my favorite way to work on the whole is probably like a threesome, either two girls or two guys.
Even.
Because it just keeps it keeps it you keep the girls can be doing each other, and you just stand inside jerking off watching them, and then
Either way, he wins.
and you jump in. Yeah, either way, you do one, eating her out, she's eating her pussy. It's like you can keep switching it up.
And females are more touchy rubby. So
Oh,
I
hell
guess
yeah.
That kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, most of the women I've encountered, there's some exceptions, and most of them, as you know yourself.
Yes,
you
I've
guys,
been one of the women that he's
Yes.
encountered. He's understood what this feels like.
Right, and they all like girls. Most of you guys like doing the girls. I mean, that's a given.
Yes.
On a percentage, I'd say 75-80% of the women I've worked with all have done girl, whatever. They'll eat pussy just as easily as they suck a dick.
Yeah.
But it was like that small percentage that was like, nope, never eat a pussy. Nope, don't like girls. Like
Yeah,
like dick.
everyone has
whatever.
their own thing.
Right, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But most of you guys do like to do other girls, which again, to me, if you're in a scene and I'm watching two beautiful girls eating each other out and going at it, and again, it's going to get me more aroused.
Hey, that's why I did it.
Because that's almost like a private show for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm just sitting there jerking over. Oh man, this shit's hot. Wow.
So that's what keeps guys horny too. Just watching women.
Oh, yeah.
Go at it.
Oh
yes.
yeah.
So ladies.
But it doesn't,
How you
but some guys get a hang of like, I don't want to be around a bunch of guys with hard-ons. It's like, well, if you're going to be that uncomfortable, don't do porn.
Yeah. If you're gonna be in porn.
If you're going to be a porn
Right.
performer, don't do it. Because, there'll be times you'll be just doing one-on-one, which is fine. But you'll be there other times you're going to be with other guys. And if you're not comfortable around other naked guys, literally right next to
not
you,
something, yeah.
literally all around you, and
oh,
his
those
dicks.
DP scenes are crazy.
DPs,
those
whatever.
DP scenes. Oh, that's
Yeah.
close.
Yeah,
that's real close right
then,
there.
and you're gonna have a hang up about it. Don't do it. That's all I can say.
If you cannot live with yourself.
Right.
But what's next for Dapper Dan? Like, what can we see in the future? Because
Well-
we know you're still gonna stay horny.
Well, I did.
We know that.
Even with the magazines, the promo edge helped out too. One of my major things I'm proud of. Everyone knows Lexington Steele.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I discovered him.
Shout out to Dapper Dan for discovering
Yeah,
Lexington.
he was originally a model for me.
Where is he from? I'm not sure.
Actually, he's from here.
Shout
He's
out
a
to
no.
beautiful
He's
girl.
he's from the East Coast. Lives in Jersey. Well, he used to live in Jersey. That's
Yeah.
what came. But what happened? One of my photographers who actually was a woman. I had several photographers who's a woman. She called me up one day and she said, "Nev, you got to see this guy."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Why? What's up?" So I just shot him. He's tall. He's handsome. He could be a fashion model. Very beautiful looking guy, but he's got an 11-inch dick. I'm like, really? And she goes, yeah, you got to use him as a model. I said, well, let's go meet him.
Yeah.
So we hooked up, and he did several layouts for me, boy-girl layouts.
Yeah.
And then one day, we were at what I called that old show, the East Coast Video Show in Atlantic City, walking around, and I ran into
Yeah,
a white
before
guy
Exotic.
before we go exotic.
Yep.
And I ran into a white guy who was from Texas, who was about to relocate with his wife to L.A. to get into porn. And he saw Lex. He's like, "Oh, who's this guy?" And I go, "This is Lexington Steele."
Yeah.
So he happened to have some of the layouts that we did.
Oh, from previous.
So
years,
right,
yeah.
so he looked at his layouts and he goes, "Oh shit," and as Lex would confirm, next words out was, "Want to come fuck my wife in L.A.?" And he goes, "Oh, okay." So he got him a ticket. He went to L.A. He did a scene with the woman, came back, started doing bi-coastal, like back and forth,
Yep.
till finally he decided to stay there altogether. But the couple that he worked with, the guy would go on to become a well-known director named Michael Raven,
Okay.
and his wife would go on to become a contract girl for Wicked called Sydney Steele.
Oh.
But Lex,
All right.
and I want to make it clear with people about Lex. He's an icon in this business.
Yes.
I mean, he's like he's like my kid brother, I guess you could say, age-wise. But, you know, he was the first black male performer to break the glass ceiling at AVN, where before it would always be like best black male performer, best whatever. But he became the first one. This was like, and I if I got it wrong, Lex, I'm sorry, I always forget the year. It was either 2000, 2001, whatever, at the AVN Awards. He became the first guy to just win best male performer.
Oh,
Not
gotta be
black
black
male
male
performer,
performer,
but
yeah.
best male performer.
Yes,
Now, it's a good moment in our history for that.
Yes.
And he's still here. He just turned 48. He's a Sagittarius like me. He's still going strong. He's married now. Beautiful wife from Canada named Savannah Stiles. They work together. You know, they do their own stuff. But you know, he also had his own company, Mercenary Pictures. Put out his own product. Other guys I helped get started, Nat Turner and Brian Pumper. They also started as models for me. And you know, I took.
So you was leading the charge in black porn over here in New
Well,
York
it's
City.
just when I see talent, I try to promote, male or female.
Yeah.
If I think someone's got potential to be somebody and make a name for themselves in this business, whatever I can do to give them support, you know, do layouts with them in the mag or now,
Yes.
as I do now with
And
the
I want to
scenes.
thank you because you have greatly supported me in many ways in my career and my
yeah.
endeavors and what I've been doing.
Yeah.
So you've always shown love and support. So I always appreciate you
Thank
for that,
you.
Dapper Dan.
Well, what happened, at the magazine era ended in 2002. I basically went into retirement. I would have stayed there, to be honest with you. But almost 5 years ago, unfortunately, something really bad happened. My wife, who I was married to for 37 years,
Who was sitting
passed
here,
away,
just
right.
realized, yeah.
She was also my makeup artist. She made up a lot of the
Stylist.
girls in the magazine. We were a good team. But she passed away, and then at that time, I was now a 60-year-old childless widower. I'm like, what the fuck do I do now? Because I was expecting to grow old with Phil.
Yeah.
And friends from the old days said, well, you know, you don't have kids. You're basically by yourself. Why don't you get back in the game? And I thought about it, and I said, does anybody really want to see a 60-year-old guy on camera fucking girls and
Yes,
shit?
they do.
You know, I mean, I really gave it a lot of thought, because outside of Ron Jeremy and a couple of other guys, I think another guy named Dave Cummings, and there really weren't that many older porn performers. And I said, would it work? But I said, you know what, roll the dice and see what
Let's see what
happens.
happens, right.
So and at the time, when I was doing the porn in the 90s, I did came up with the stage name Dapper Dan. Because in the
How
magazine,
did Dapper Dan come about?
well,
Like, was that like
that's because of the way I dressed.
Ah.
Because since college, I always had a trademark look. I always wore a hat. I always carried a walking stick.
Yeah, because when Lila Everett was taking me to your house, I actually thought we were going to because I always heard about Dapper Dan, but I heard of like the clothing designer.
Yeah, Dapper Dan.
So when she was taking me over there, I was just like, "Oh, this is a clothing designer." Okay, but
Right.
I had no idea. Like you're just a horny old man.
Right,
It's
but
really
no,
cool.
but this still happens even now. People still think I'm Dapper Dan of Harlem, which is great.
Yes.
But no, he's an icon onto himself with his clothing line and what he did.
Yes.
But yeah, he's Dapper Dan of Harlem. I'm Dapper Dan of Brooklyn.
Yes, and up porn.
And but I always dressed that way because I liked the way men looked, like in the old days in the 30s and
Sharp,
40s. They always
professional.
everybody was into their clothes. I always wore a hat, a walking stick. I just thought it was a slick way to look.
Yes,
Although
it
a lot
is.
of people, well, I wouldn't say negative about it, but it still is considered like a Mac Daddy
I
pimp
believe
look
every
as
man
well.
should own a suit.
Right.
Every man should own a suit.
But I
That's
just like
for sure.
looking, it's just the way I like to dress. So when I did the porn in the 90s, that would became my stage name, because in the 30s,
Yeah.
there was this character called, they even had a song about him, There Goes Dapper Dan, the ladies' man. And it was just this character. You didn't really know what he
Yeah.
was. Was he a gangster? Was he a pimp? Was he
Right.
a club owner? He was just a well-dressed
Fly
guy,
back
man
person.
about town, always dressed well, always had girls.
Right.
And I thought it was
Which is you.
Thank you.
Yes, which is you.
But I thought it was a good name. It was an easy name to remember.
Yes.
So when I got back in the game, then I bought the name back,
Mm-hmm.
Dapper Dan, and then I got the website, dapperdansworld.com.
Go to dapperdansworld.com. That's
And-
dapperdansworld.com.
With an S. Yeah, Dapper Dans.
Dans
And
with an
also
S.
went on Clips for Sale, which the store.
Yes,
Store number
definitely.
98177.
Mhm.
And I just started shooting scenes.
Okay.
So,
And it hasn't stopped ever since.
Right,
Yes.
I've honestly,
You got some great girls up there.
I've
I'm
had-
up there.
she's up there.
Kenya Sweets.
Kenya
is up
Sweets,
there.
Diamond Ortega.
yes.
No, I honestly, I can't say, for this period of my life that I've had the privilege, and all you women, I give a shout out to you all. You're all beautiful. All the women, the BBWs, the Juicy
Thank you.
Jasmine, Platinum Pussy,
Yes.
Marley DeBooty, the MILFs, Rita Daniels,
Oh,
Lauren
yeah.
DeWinter, Rachel Domino,
Dang.
and oh my God, it's just
So
so many of
many,
them. Gianna Love, Melody Cummings. I've had this privilege of working with so many, really, and they're all different.
Yes.
They're all different.
Definitely.
Short, tall, curvy,
Oh my
slim.
God. Your life is eventful, Dapper Dan.
Well,
we
I
have to have a second part to this because
Yes,
there's so much more. But
well,
yes.
it's just I even tweeted because as you all know, I just turned 65.
Shout out to Dapper Dan turning 65.
December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day.
Still staying horny, man.
Yeah. Oh, that was what you wanted to ask me about.
Yes.
Yeah. No, what happened was the tagline that I do, "Stay horny, my friends." For those of you who would remember, is it still on? The Dos Equis beer commercials. They were always showing this guy called the most interesting man in the world, and he was always this guy doing all these incredible things. But at the end, he was always in a bar with these beautiful women around him, and he would just go, "Well, I don't drink beer that much, but when I do, I drink Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends." And I was looking at the commercials, and I said, the light bulb went off in my head. And I go, that would be a good tagline. So we went from that to "Stay horny, my friends."
Yes.
And then when I was doing the scenes, as you know,
Yes.
when I would climax and not have my orgasm and shoot my load on the girl, I go,
After he
"That's
comes in
a
the
Dapper
face."
Dan seal of approval."
Yes.
Right. I would always yell that out at the end.
Yeah.
So that became
A lot of women
tagline
have
too.
gotten that seal.
Right.
Definitely.
And then I had a T-shirt, which you have.
Yes, I
Which
do have
has
t-shirts.
it says Dapper Dan seal of approval on the shirt, because I felt every girl I worked with should be a Dapper Dan girl. So
Nice.
everybody would get the T-shirt says seal of approval. My face would be on it.
I was happy to have a t-shirt that had Dapper Dan's name on it.
All right, so Dap,
Yes.
I'm gonna run some names by you.
Go ahead.
Real quick, simple and easy, right? Jenny Pepper.
I've met her. I never had a chance to work with her, but yeah, she's a friend. I ran a lot of her layout stuff. I've met
Okay.
her in person at the expos.
Okay. Vanessa Del Rio.
Oh, well, again, icon in the New York area.
Yes.
Long retired, but she still makes appearances at expos from time to time. I can't say enough about her that she paved the way for a lot of women of color in this business, in this town, because she was
Yeah.
one of the earliest ones to start
Early
performing.
too, like
Yeah.
early.
No, we're
Was
talking the
that
70s.
70s?
The
70s,
Yeah.
yes.
70s, when they were still shooting
God.
porn, and that's the only thing I want people to understand.
Where they weren't even
This porn-
shaving.
Porn was started here, okay?
So porn was started in New York City.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of the pornos from the 70s, you see they were shot right here on the streets of New York.
In New York,
They were
right.
not shot in LA.
Wow.
They were here. A lot of those early ones were Ron Jeremy and Vanessa and all them, Ned Haven and Gloria Leonard and other people. They were shot here in the New York area, in Manhattan. And then later, they would relocate to LA for various reasons. But the porn industry, as far as I'm concerned, was started here.
Okay. Now how about Kyra Rodriguez?
Oh God, another one from New York.
Oh, that's a good one.
No, I'm just saying these are just like,
Flashbacks?
Flashbacks, yeah. Again, unfortunately, never got to meet her, but I certainly know about her. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Marcus.
Marcus is a dear friend of mine. Run into him at the expos all the time.
Yeah, I met him at the expo, too.
Good dude.
Yeah, very good dude.
he was
all
nice.
these guys, like I said, Lex, Marcus, Shawn Michaels is another one. They've been around. They've earned their due, because as people say, I paved the way on my own doing what I did with the magazines. They paved the way for the younger men that are in this business now, because if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't be here.
Right.
Because they broke down all the doors.
Right. Belladonna.
The tattoo lady with the
Yes.
gap in the teeth, like my beautiful girl over here. Yeah. No, she's something else. She really, to me, she made a trademark for herself shooting stuff in Europe. Did a lot of stuff at that time when they were just starting to go to like Prague and Eastern Europe.
Right.
And she used to go over there and make trips and did some incredible scenes. A lot of people say, "Oh, who cares if, she's got the gap, she's got tats all over her body there." But you know what? That's what made her beautiful and stand out. I don't, every woman's different.
Right.
There is no one look. I mean, regardless of the ethnic background, what makes women stand out in this business is their inner beauty as well as the outer beauty. If they're hot, they're hot. I've had sex with women that were like small-breasted, hardly any booty, but they just had a dynamic energy about them. Others very curvy, others very tall. I mean, they're all different.
Right.
But women are women. It's like if they got that energy in them and it comes out on screen, that's what it is. And in the beginning, a lot of people didn't want to shoot women with tats and piercings.
Oh, really?
Right.
Because they said, because they thought it took away. There wasn't a good look. It wasn't even a market. Belladonna was one of the ones that proved them wrong.
And she, she had her own. She started her own company and did her
Exactly.
own filming
Right.
and different types, like 4 women and
Yeah.
some Gonzo stuff. Like she,
Yeah. No, I mean, what people, if in this business now, and I guess it's, as they say, the changing face of porn, because you even asked me earlier, like, well, how do you make money in this business? How do you
Right,
make,
that's what I was
and
trying to
I
figure
say, like, yeah, with all the free porn sites and what have you, yeah, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie,
It's not impossible.
it's not impossible, but
Right.
it is hard.
Yeah.
The thing, especially with the women, they go the next step and totally do their own shit. They promote themselves. They have their own websites. They cam, as a lot of girls do now.
Right.
Cam out of their homes. They get their own fan base. As I say now, at the end of a lot of the scenes when I do, right after I nut it, I'll look at the camera and go, look, support porn. Because we're here to provide you with entertainment.
Spend
You're going
money
to
to
see
do it.
stuff with us. What Vanessa does, or my partner Kenya Sweets, or Diamond Ortega, who's another one that
Yes.
got
Yes,
the tats
yes,
and the
yes.
piercings, one of the hot. These are hot women. No two ways, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Right.
They get your blood going. They get your dick hard. Because when you're in the presence of them, that energy comes out. And it's like, man, I can't wait to get into her. I can't wait to have sex with her, because it's like, oh my God. I just had a party.
Last night, that
night.
fuck party
Last night.
that I
Yeah.
missed.
Happy birthday once again. Yes.
Thank you. I'm 65 years old,
65.
officially senior citizen with the Medicare card.
Hey, lit now.
But at my party, Diamond was there, Kenny was there, run around buck naked, And
Yeah, Diamond's clothes never stays on.
They
for
don't.
long.
Soon as
I had
she-
to talk to her to keep
No.
her clothes on here.
You really? She comes in as soon as she's there. I mean, literally naked, and it's like, and the guys go wild because it's, like I said, it's that energy. It
Right.
just emanates from.
Yeah,
them.
Diamond will take his good energy. Love
Yes.
her.
No, she's
Yeah,
just
she's a ball of fun.
she's like the Energizer Bunny, man. It just like doesn't stop. But even aside from the sex, she's just a really nice person.
She is.
And that's the thing I want to tell people too. Look, just because a woman does porn doesn't mean she's a skank. She doesn't mean she's somebody less that you look down upon. It's like the MILFs especially that I love working with, like Lauren DeWinter and them, Ginger Ray.
Oh, yeah,
These
shout
are
out to Ginger.
yeah, Ginger Ray. Yeah,
Yes.
no. These are women that you could be on the checkout line at Walmart.
And you would never
And you
know.
would not know. And you would not know. They're up there buying groceries just like everybody else
Yeah.
and going to Target and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they're married, they got kids, but at the same time, they get in front of the camera. Especially Lauren. Shout out to Lauren. Lauren is insatiable.
Oh, Lauren, yeah. She
Lauren,
gets up at 6 in the morning
yeah.
and still runs.
And I mean, right? She stayed at my place once, and literally the whole day, fucking, she fucked me. Then Black Pipe came over, fucked him and me. Then
I came over.
You came over.
Yep.
Max Payne came over, fucked him. Then that was the evening, and Rock Bundy comes over, fucked him. You remember?
Yes.
It was all day.
Okay, so okay, Dap. You're making this too fun, Dap. All right. I have
The
to.
typical day at Dapper Dan.
Yes, at Dapper
Okay.
Dan's house, it's gonna be fucking.
Okay, so Dap. All right, Uncle Dap. All right, listen. In January, right?
Yes.
Me being a music magazine guy, right?
Yes.
We're hanging out in January, right? In Vegas.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
oh,
going to be
yes.
hanging out, right?
Yes, we're all going to AVN.
We all going to AVN, right?
Yeah.
Will I get some of this good old treatment?
Just hang around there. Just hang around there.
All I can say is just hang with us.
It comes to
Something's
him.
going to happen.
All right.
Something's going to
Now,
because literally everybody I think that we know in our circle is going to be there.
Yes.
Right.
Including people who've never been there before. It's going to be.
Right.
Brooklyn's definitely going to be represented.
We're going to be
Shout
in
out
there.
to Brooklyn.
Shout out to
Now,
Brooklyn.
are you going to the actual awards?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I'll
Now,
try. I hope so.
well, we'll be there.
No, I'll be
Yeah.
walking the floor if anything, because I'll be there with Kenya. Because as I said, we're in a relationship. She's my girl.
she's
she's
with
my
their
partner.
relationship, yeah. Mhm.
Been going strong now over a year and a half. And
Sweetheart.
honestly, I want to give a shout out, especially to her.
Shout out to Kenya Sweet.
At one point I was even thinking about maybe calling it a day with Dapper. I was saying, well, where am I going to go? I've fucked a lot of women. I've been doing this, but she got into my life. As I said, I was a widower. We do the scenes.
Yeah.
But then once all the girls are gone, everybody's gone. I'm sitting in my apartment. I'm like by myself, and we met at Exotica, and she just started coming around because she is also a Brooklyn girl, and hanging out with me. We like movies. We found out we had a lot of things in common. And finally, I said, you know what? Why don't you just move in and stay with me? And she did.
All right.
And that's what I said. But she keeps me focused and motivated. Where it's like for one, amongst other things, I'm writing a book.
Yes.
About what I did.
Looking forward
Good.
to the book coming soon from Dapper Dan.
And she made me do that. I was like, who wants to read about what I did? But people need to know what you did.
Yes,
Exactly.
you're an icon. Yes, we all need to know.
Exactly.
That's why. Listen, January, I'm with you by your side. if you go to the expo in LA, I'm right by your side. We gonna be right. Listen, they said, "What? Hey, Dap, these your sons?" Yep.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
Well, fortunately, at my age, I'm basically everybody's daddy or grandpa.
I'm like, yeah, that's my uncle right there. That's a,
No, like,
hey, oh.
They're dicking bitches
no,
down.
all the guys like Ludus Adonis. He's like,
absolutely.
they're all like my surrogate sons. Black Pipe.
Yeah, Black Pipe is your,
Yeah.
we call him your twin son.
Yeah,
Yes.
Pipe, Rock Bundy. They're all my sons.
Yes,
we're
yes.
we're a crew. We work together. I fucked with all of them many times with other girls. That's our team. That's our crew here.
Well, listen, now you got another magazine down with you. What's Good Magazine? That's us.
Yes.
You got the Grown Man Show, the radio show. You got Smiles69Network show. That's part of the family now.
Yeah.
You got Wincroy Enterprises. That's part of you now. And
yes,
of
indeed.
course, you got me, UncleTone, my brother Jason Law.
Yes, indeed.
You got, and whatever music you need, I got. So you got a whole, I say it takes a village to raise a
It
child,
does.
right?
No one person
Yeah.
can do this by
That's
themselves.
right.
And I think that was probably the other thing that was weighing in on me. I felt like, I can only do but so much. I mean, I did what I did in the magazines in the 90s. I helped get people's careers started. I covered the ethnic side of the industry. I felt I did what I could do, again, with nobody to back me. I had no one to work with me, and it weighed in on me many times. I was like, my God, it's just like such a stress-inducing job,
But you
especially
did
you're
it,
dealing with
though.
racism. But you did it. You did it.
You did it,
And now, as you say, like I entered a new chapter where other guys would be like, well, I did my shit, I'm done. But I feel like it is a new chapter in my life. As you say, the crew, the team, the family circle expands. And especially with Kenya, Every time I turn around, oh, I want you to meet this guy. Even people coming to the party like that, I'm like, who is this guy? Oh, this is somebody I want you to meet. He does this, and somebody.
be lit.
But this is what it is. She knows people. She networks like a motherfucker.
She's a great person.
She is.
When you're a great person, you have that.
And that's what again keeps me motivated, because I'd be like, "What's up now?" She goes, "Oh, the guy that you did your cover for the magazine here, Mark Aurelius." She knew him. I didn't know. But she brought him by the house one day, and she goes, "Oh, this guy wants to meet you." And I'm like, "Well, who's he?" Does a magazine called Body. I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Oh, this is really good stuff. You're a very talented, young man." And he goes, "Well, I saw your magazines, and because he saw the books." I said, "Well, that's again, that inspired, me to do what I do." And other guys, I've had so many guys tell me who've seen the books, and they go like, "Oh man, I used to jerk off to this when I was in high school.
Yeah.
You're the guy that did this? Oh shit, And it always strikes me as funny.
I brought big porn producers around here, and they got like that.
Because I helped a lot of guys get through high school, apparently, jerking off.
And through prison time.
And prison,
I know
too.
an uncle who was watching Blacktail. He's like, "I can't believe you know this guy."
Yeah,
So
no,
was
I
like,
got tons of letters from prison when I did the magazine. They were actually very emotional, because so many guys told me, like, they're doing hard time, and this is the only thing that's helping them get through all that hard time, was seeing the books.
Right.
And they thanked me, said, "Thank you so much for doing these books, because without these, I don't know what I'd be doing, because that's all I have."
Wow.
So, that really struck a chord with me. So, yeah, I've done what I've done. I continue to do what I do, and thank God for beautiful women like
thank
Vanessa,
God.
because
Thank God for you
that
being
keeps me
great
going.
spirit, for coming to
Nah,
work.
thank you.
There's still snow on the
you.
roof,
No.
but there's still fire in the furnace,
Hey.
I
There
guess.
you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Still Liddy like. Dapper Dan, can you let the people know where they can find you and all of your great content?
Well, as they say, DapperDansWorld.com is the site, but probably to get the more recent stuff, go to Clips for Sale. The store number is 98177. That's for that. Kenya's on there too. We share the store. Beyond that, look for the book that's forthcoming and sometime in 2018.
Yes, indeed.
About what I've done and what I hope to continue to do.
Yes, well, you have to come back when the book launches.
Yeah,
You have to promise.
I'll definitely come back. And also, as they say, at the end of the scenes, after we've finished, I tell everybody, look, male or female, but especially with the women here, they make their money with this. If you go on free porn sites, they can't make a living. And I feel, you're getting, and on their sites, they're going to have exclusive stuff you're not going to see on the free porn sites. If you want to see exclusive entertainment, and it is entertainment, we're performing for you guys. Male or female.
Money to make videos.
We spend money on this. Nothing of this is cheap. You got cameras, you got lights, you got props. Where you pay for hotels and all this other stuff. It takes a lot of money. And the only way we're going to recoup on that is if you support us in our endeavors and buy our stuff, look at our stuff, and pay for it.
Yep.
So, do that. If you do that, you're helping us and you keep this industry going.
Indeed.
And as I always say at the end, after I say stay horny, my friends, I always say this is Dapper Dan signing off. Love, peace, and porn.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Dapper Dan, for coming.
Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And you guys, we are now signing off. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is your girl, Vanessa Smilez. You guys can check this episode out. It's coming up on YouTube. You go to YouTube and type in Smiles69Network show, and you guys will see this episode up before the end of this week. Later, you guys. Stay horny, my friends.
Stay horny.
Bye, you guys.
Watch porn.
Yes, watch porn and pay for
And
your
pay
porn.
for your porn.
Pay for it. That's what we need out there.
Exactly.
Later, guys.
Later.